there been interest expressed in this project by private developers to date?
We have had some, what I would call unsolicited opinions. No one has given us a value for this.
Can you provide, can you provide the names of those who have expressed an interest?
I could, I'd rather not. You had mentioned eminent domain as a land grab and a money-making scheme. I don't like to look at it that way. And for the very reason, that if you look at this project as a freeway, does that mean that there will not be the necessity for, at some point in time, having to address eminent domain with a handful of property owners? Eminent domain is there for a purpose, and it's not to be abused. And I don't know that you could ever point to anything that INDOT has done in the past to say that we've abused the use of eminent domain.
Oh, come on.
Well, I'd like some concrete examples of that after this, because I'd like to take a look at it.
But that's my point, sir, is I believe the use of eminent domain for these private enterprises probably is an abuse of that.
Well, let's talk about that for a second.
First, your comment on eminent domain. Maybe you haven't been to state highway long enough. And I'm not talking about this administration, but years and years and years, state highways used eminent domain in very aggressive form. Probably the most egregious situation was I-70 through Indianapolis. Now, maybe you aren't going to do that, but state highway has a long history of using eminent domain. And whether that's good or bad, let's get the facts out. My real concern about this is not the toll road. It's not even the location. Although you could argue for Anderson, it should be on the east side or the west side. The state has limited resources today. I am concerned about the amount of resources in INDOT that are being wasted or spent right now, getting us to the point we get a design and a bid. It's literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. Our best and brightest in state highway are trying to push this through at incredible speeds. And I think those resources ought to be spent on alternative forms of transportation and solving the critical problems we have today, as opposed to solving some potential. It's a matter of alternatives. And I'd like to see us work on the alternatives that make a difference for the next 10 and 20 years, as opposed to a bypass of a bypass.
What about the non-compete clause?
Let's talk about that. Non-compete, when we would lease a project like this to a private firm that has a lot of money, a non-compete would be defined as a rule in there that prohibits INDOT from upgrading or making any changes to roads nearby. Because if you stop thinking about it, what that would do is if the private firm built this road and then INDOT came back for whatever reason, I can't think of one, for whatever reason, and built a road parallel in the same path, it would have a chance of taking revenue away from that private investor. But I think that it's not good public policy.
So a road that's currently built, and say locally they decide to make it into a 4-lane instead of a 2-lane, they possibly could not do that because of the no. Only if INDOT and the state agreed to allow that language in the contract. I was just trying to give you an idea of what
those types of things address. I personally think it's bad policy to consider something like that, because INDOT has a responsibility to the citizens of the state, and we can and should not subrogate that responsibility to somebody else. I mean, we always have to keep the ability to pave our existing roads and upgrade when necessary, and so if I had a vote in it, there would not be one of those types of clauses in such a way.
But that's how the toll road is currently in northern Indiana.
No, there's not a non-compete clause.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I I help with that. What that says,
We were told as legislators, and there was one, I read a contract that had a clause, such clause in it.
well, what that lease says is that essentially INDOT can make any improvement, anything they want on roads around that toll road. There's a definition of a band that's 10 miles wide, and the toll road sits in there. There's certainly nothing in there that prevents us from keeping up our responsibility on the existing highways.
There is a non-compete clause in that contract.
Yes, there is.
And it said that within 10 miles of the Indiana toll road, that those roads could not be upgraded to interstate highway conditions. And that was so that there would not be competition to the Indiana toll road.
Well, it's,
So I mean, you're saying it's not that.
I would like to.
If you don't know, just find the answer and give it to
Well,
us.
I
That would be fair.
I helped with that language a year ago, but Senator, I'd love to spend some time with you and go through that, just to
About
make
me.
sure.
The public.
Just to make sure that I'm not. That was some very convoluted language. And
There's still 3 more comments back here. Our time is up, and if you would like to visit later, you're welcome to do that. I do appreciate you being here this evening, and I also appreciate how respectful you have been. That is very important to us. The governor and the Indiana Department of Transportation has sent out people here, and we thank you for that opportunity. The website is there available for you. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, and good night.
Excuse me, no one even close to my age group has said anything yet, and they've been waiting patiently. I think they should say something before they go all the way back to the meeting.
You know, I appreciate that also. You're welcome to come up and talk to the gentleman if you'd like to.
Since I-69 is slated to begin in 2008, Mitch Daniels has said publicly, that means that the state needs to get the funds for that by 2008.
I'm sorry, what was the 2008 year?
Mitch Daniels has said I-69 is supposed to begin by 2008,
Oh,
which is less than a year away. So that means that he needs to get the money for that by 2008. And you have said that the money from this road, from the sale of this road to a private company, will not go to straight to I-69. Like those dollars will not go straight to pay for I-69, but it will free up the money for I-69, which basically means that it's money in the bank. It doesn't matter if those particular dollar bills are going to I-69. Regardless, you need this road to pay for I-69.
We already have, as we speak, $700 million in the bank, and that will start I-69. That is available today and actually earning interest every day. So we do have that part of 69 funded. What the governor has said is that 69 will be free, not toll. And that since we only have $700 million, we're going to have to be creative and come up with enough to finish that project. Now, when that happens, we don't know. I mean,
I just hope that I grew up in Wrongway Quarry, and it was a phrase for people that had great ideals but headed in the wrong direction. I hope our children and our grandchildren don't use the catchphrase "Wrongway Mitch."
thank you.